I'm Mimi Banks, founder of MB Social, and I'm here as always with my co-host, Dr. Dustin Portela, board-certified dermatologist, dermfluencer, podcaster, and now actor, maybe even member of SAG or SAG member.
That's right, and live from Boise.
That is true, and how appropriate for what we're going to talk about today. Your once-in-a-lifetime experience. Actually, I'm not even sure it's once in a lifetime now. Maybe there'll be more, but we're going to talk about your debut on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, this was probably the coolest project that I've had the chance to participate in since getting started on social media.
Seriously, but I also want to talk about how excited everybody else was on set that you were there. And we were like two kids we were so excited to be on set, and everybody else was so excited that you were there.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Yeah. No, it was a fun experience. It seemed like, it was, it couldn't be real when I first got the invitation that I was going to get to go and film on the Saturday Night Live recording set.
Totally. So let's start from the beginning and take people along with us. So how did this happen? How did this come about? Let's just share a little bit about the backstory.
Yeah. So, I have had the privilege of working with the brand CeraVe for, basically for 5 years now since I got started on social media. And we've had a great working relationship with them. And as part of my contract last year, I was able to go and be on set for the soap opera commercial.
That's right.
A lot of people may have seen that. The CeraVe video on my page did close to 100 million views. And I got to be the doctor in a telenovela-style soap opera that came in and saved the day from bad cleansing habits. And it was over the top, drama, very funny. And that was my, acting debut, so to speak, where I was on a set. It was a Screen Actors Guild, certified set. Everybody else was a member of SAG. It was my first SAG shoot, so I was not a member. The director was Milana Vaintrub. She is most commonly known as the AT&T girl. Professional actors otherwise on the set. And I felt like kind of the odd man out, but even on that set, got so many questions from people about their skin and everything. And so that one went really well. I was very happy with my performance on that. The video obviously did quite well on social, and it was used on television and streaming for like more traditional media buys. And as we planned for another year of working with CeraVe, this opportunity came up really just about, I would say 6 weeks ago. We got a kind of a save the date for New York, but no details came in. And then the date shifted a little bit, and it might have only been about 3 weeks before the original date. And the date had to shift a little bit. Part of that was due to scheduling conflicts with the actors. Part of that was due to the California fires. I think a lot of the production company had some ties going on there. We're doing work in LA. So it happened here right at the end of January, where I got to fly out to New York to be in a commercial with CeraVe around their new shampoo and conditioner for dandruff. And that's kind of the backstory as to what happened. But when projects come up that are really cool, you never know if they're set in stone until you've got a flight booked. And until that happened, I was very nervous. I was cautious about who I was telling. In my close circle, I don't tell a lot of people. I certainly don't announce it on social media, but, telling my parents or my staff here at the office, because I have to take days off. So, but once that plane ticket was booked, I was pretty excited.
I mean, I think the moment that you and I really realized it was real is we walked into this nondescript building, and then all of a sudden you see the pictures, you see this set. Now, this was filmed at this set that they use for pre-recorded content. So it's not the typical set that you're picturing for Saturday Night Live. However, this one was even cooler, I would say, because it was just this magical universe.
Yeah, it was like stepping into another world, and you got to see a lot of props that had been used in previous Saturday Night Live videos. So when you think of Saturday Night Live, most everything happens live on the set, but there's usually a few sketches that are pre-recorded. And one of the classic things that they've done is after the opening monologue, they cut to commercial, and they would have these kind of mock or fake commercials. And, a number of those are pre-recorded. Anything that is not in a studio is pre-recorded. So there is, usually a few pieces that are pre-recorded, and that all takes place on this set. As we walked into the building, we saw the props, we saw all the headshots of all of the previous cast members for the last 50 years. And I was surprised how many people that love working at SNL. There were people that had been there for 30 years.
Totally.
So that was pretty cool.
And then the documentary is out now. So we met some of the people that were on the documentary, and we were talking about their experience. And it really was like a family. Everybody works so well together. And it was just this really warm, wonderful atmosphere. So the first thing we did is we went into Dustin's dressing room.
Yeah, it was, I got a dressing room. Who knows who else has been in there?
Yeah.
But I got to get in my dressing room. I provided my scrubs and my white coat to the costume department. They pressed everything, so I didn't put on like a traditional costume because they want me to appear as a doctor in this, because we are talking about a medical condition and using, doctor dermatologist recommended products. And then the next thing was to go into hair and makeup. And I've been in hair and makeup before, and usually I walk in and the hair people are like, "Oh, we don't need you." So, but I got to do hair and makeup. Yeah.
So this was different. The makeup was quite quick. I'm looking around to see the products they're using, and then we got to the most important part of your costume, which was the hair.
The hair. So because this was a new dandruff product, they did put hair on me. So I got to wear a wig, and, by now the commercial has been out, so people have been able to see it. So I was in this long, curly black wig, with a bandana wrapped around my head, kind of giving like 80s hairband rock star vibes. And that matched really well with the other cast members that were in the quote unquote band. And it was really funny just to see myself again with hair, and that kind of hair in particular. It was a lot of fun.
And then everybody got used to seeing you with hair. So they know you no different than someone with hair, which was the irony. So you're in hair and makeup, you're in your costume, then we walk on set. And this set was really reminiscent, at least for me and Dustin, a little bit of Wayne's World, like ode to Wayne's World, garage band, 80s style, kind of punk rock, heavy metal.
Yeah. Yeah. And the most impressive thing to me was how every little piece of detail on set was intentional. If you think of what a garage band would have looked like in the 80s, and they'd have posters on the wall of other bands, and they'd have all the iconic, memorabilia from the 80s, like the little gremlin, and everything was specifically made for this shoot. And so it all had a tie in to hair care, to CeraVe, to skin, and rock and roll. And it was really a fun mix of those two to see how creative they were.
So creative.
To, make, hundreds of stickers and posters and things that all met this intersection of dandruff shampoo and rock and roll, which are two things that you never think about going together.
Right. And the name of the band, so good.
Yeah. The name of the band was, it's spelled N-A-U. Was it N-A-U?
M-O-R-E.
M-O-R-E. No More Dandruff.
Right. Almost like Faith No More, but not, I guess. But No More Dandruff, which was amazing. And you were the drummer.
I was the drummer in the rock and roll band. And so the lead guitar was Bowen Yang, who is a current cast member. He's been there for 4 or 5 years. And then Sarah Sherman, who's been there, I think, 3 years. So they were the front of the band. Andrew was on bass, so I guess the lead guitarist was Sarah Sherman. And, they were really decked out in their costumes. They had the long hair, but they had the leather, the spikes, the chains.
The boot,
everything that you could think of for a hair rock band in the 80s.
And the makeup.
The makeup was incredible.
So good. And so then they actually pre-recorded a song, too.
Yeah. So they, obviously used a studio band to make this song, but it was really cleverly written. And it was, there were 2 songs, one focused around like being a headbanging rock band. And then after the dialogue of the commercial, we ended with a another song that was more about dandruff and hair care, but it was really clever, really funny,
so clever,
just the right amount of cheesy.
Totally. And the irony here is that Dustin sits down to play the drums, and there's a guy, it must have been, I don't know, like a music coordinator, someone who was in charge of helping you look like you play drums, and said, "Do you know how to play drums?" And he said, "Well, actually."
Yeah, I played drums in junior high as part of the pep band. And that was a pleasant surprise for everybody involved, because this guy, he is a musician and he was in a band, and the name of his band escapes me, but it was,
really,
they had hits. Yeah. And so he was there to help instruct people how to use their instruments, because Sarah and Bowen did not play the guitar or the bass. And so he was helping them with their hand position and how to move at different parts of the song so it would look more realistic. And when I sat down on the drums, he had been told that I'd never touched a drum set in my life.
And there
I got down and I hit the straight 4 and did a drum roll, and he's like, "Oh, okay, you're good."
My job here is done. Okay, so now we have set up. And what's interesting is what Dustin and I were really fascinated by was we got there around 8:30 in the morning, and we didn't finish until maybe
almost 8 at night.
8 at night.
Yeah.
And the intricate details that went through of every setup of each line of dialogue and the camera angle. So interesting.
Yeah. So there, it's a 1-minute commercial in the end. And, at least 20 seconds of that are the 2 songs. And so the dialogue was filmed from every angle, so that every person, when they were speaking, had 2 different camera angles. And so they would film it from one side, film it from another side, film it from a wide, film it from a close. And then when it was my dialogue time, they cleared everybody else out and they just put the camera right in front of me. And so I had to pretend like the other cast members were there and look back and forth, but you can't look straight into the camera, which is a little different than social media, because typically you want to look into the camera on social media. You want people to feel like you're talking to them, but you don't do that when you're on a set recording a commercial or TV show or movie.
And also the other cool thing is that when they flipped the entire scene around from the back.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we're filming this coming into the garage. So the camera would be set up, around the area of the open garage door, looking at the back of the garage. But then after we'd filmed most everything, they closed the garage door, which this is not a rolling garage door. They literally had to take panels and screw them into the wall. They built a full-size garage on the set of the 3rd story of this building, and then set up the cameras in the back so they could get a view over my shoulder and the back of the band, so that when I was speaking to the guitar players, Bowen and Sarah, and they turned around to look at me, that they had a shot from that angle over my shoulder. And the detail that went into that, when you looked out under the partially open garage door, they had a minivan in the driveway. Yeah. They had landscaping that they brought in. They had bark down, they had grass, they had trees, and they really were very attentive to the detail, so that it was a believable garage band.
And even the light coming in from the sides, like all and the scenery around it was incredible. But they used a sifter. They were using a sifter
like that you would use when you're applying powdered sugar over French toast or something. Right. Yeah. So
the level of detail was it was so impressive, and they do this every single week.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're filming something, pre-recorded commercials that are brand integrations, or just creative projects that they are going to put on SNL for the comedy value of it.
And totally, can we talk about the food there?
Oh, they had, I've been on a couple of sets now. This is my 2nd commercial, but I've been on professional sets for other social media projects as well. And they're run like a typical production, and they bring in catering all the time. Right. And there's all these rules for people that are in SAG, so that they have to get the breaks. It's a union job, and they feed them. There's always a snack area, but the buffet line, the food at SNL was incredible. It was as good as, most restaurants that you would go to.
From fresh juice to like fresh omelets. We were blown away. I swear, Dustin and I were so excited to be there. Whereas, this is what they do every week. And they were so excited, like literally the entire crew and even cast were beside themselves to have access to a dermatologist.
Yeah, I fielded questions all day long from people about their skin, what they should be using,
So
asking
funny.
me if I like the products that they're using, and we offered to send them whatever they wanted from just about,
Weighing in on
any
their
brand.
regimen. Yeah, weighing
Yeah.
in on their regimen and what they should do when. So funny. And so now you're an actor. You know about different camera angles. You have scripts, teleprompters. I mean, you're on SNL because you're still that persona that you are on social media, but now you're in a broader spotlight. So it's interesting because you're still you. I mean, this is my deep moment for the day, but you're still you. But it's, from an acting perspective, I think because you've been able to be so successful with your content that it's like this natural transition.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought when I got onto set, I'd feel really nervous and everything. And I
Yeah.
really didn't. And the crew does a great job of making you feel welcome and bringing you in. And the soap opera commercial, when I did that one, I met with the director, Milana, the day before. She came to my trailer to run over the lines with me. Still, there's going to be times when you flub your lines and everything, but the fun part is you see, especially the actors from Saturday Night Live, and obviously they are masters at improvisation, and how just uninhibited they were. And they would try different things. They would be crazy. They knew if they did something, it might ruin the shot and they'd have to do it over again, but they just didn't have a fear of trying something new or, just flexing a little bit around what the script was. And that made it really fun and made it really easy to not get down on myself if I messed up a line and I had to start over. And, I don't have the improv chops that they do where I would just go off script or anything, but it was just a cool environment to see how really professional people are just masters of their craft.
That made me think of something. How much of it actually ended up being improvised? Like, did you go off script a lot?
So the script that I got initially did change slightly before the final version, and we stuck to the script, but the part that ended up being really improv is the way that everybody delivered the lines. And, when I would read it, I would imagine to myself before the shoot how they would be saying these things. And I had this very Wayne's World, vibe in there. And a lot of that did come through, I think. But especially Bowen, I would say, when he, there's this line where he's like, "What? That's so metal."
Yeah.
And I thought this would always be delivered just like a, "What? That's so metal." And the way that he explored that, and we're recording this before the commercial's out. It'll be released after the commercial is released. So I don't know what the final one is going to look like.
Right.
But he screamed it sometimes. He was very quiet sometimes and just shift back and forth. And that gave me the, freedom to try a little bit different approach with my lines. And I think when I do the big reveal that I'm actually a dermatologist that's in their band, they didn't know that, the way that I change my voice and deliver that line, was, I felt like they kind of gave me permission to do that based on how, creative they were.
That's great. I think that I was super impressed for 8 hours, 12 hours on set, how the energy stayed the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like this was great momentum and great chemistry. And it was just really impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really fun, meeting the head of makeup for SNL, who's been there over 30 years, has worked on every famous cast member you could imagine. The hosts, all of these people. He's created all of the prosthetics and everything that you see used, the blood, everything that has made it in every skit. This guy's had his hands on, and he was putting eyeliner on me. So
I know it was really pretty historical. We say once in a lifetime experience, but who knows what's next? This could be a reoccurring character.
Yeah, I would love for that to be the case. And I think, this is the kind of thing maybe a lot of people might love to do and have aspirations to do. But, I want to point out that this didn't happen for me. That first shoot with CeraVe, where I did the soap opera, I'd been really working hard on social media for 4 years before that opportunity came along. And so it's something that I love to do. I love the creative aspect of it. And by putting in that kind of work and just really loving the creative process, not doing it for other reasons, I want to educate and I have fun with it. it created these kinds of opportunities that I've been able to take advantage of.